Alright, we're going to talk about the law of cosines today. The law of cosines is obviously related to the law of sines in that it helps us figure out missing side lengths and missing angles in non-right triangles. And but it applies in different situations in the law of sines. So it applies if you are given side, angle, side, or all three sides. Then you can use it to find missing the missing angle in this case, and then missing side lengths in this case. Okay, so I'm giving you three variations of the law of sines. What you need to pay attention to is that the side length that goes here is always opposite the angle that you use in the formula. So it's side a squared, side b squared, side c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of that angle that is opposite of that side. Okay. So we'll look at some examples here in a second, but basically the idea is that if you have a side and an angle that's included in another side, side and an angle, you have side, side, angle, side. Okay, and you would go figure out what this side was first. But again, we'll do some examples so you can kind of see this happen. Okay, but notice that B and B are opposite, C and C are opposite. Whatever one you don't use gets put in the other spots. Okay. If you are given side, 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 then you're going to use these formulas, and these formulas are just a variation of this formula where we've solved for the cosine piece of it. Okay. So there's nothing different really, except that we did some algebra to move these around so that it saves you steps in solving for the angle. Okay, so let's see how these get applied in a couple examples here. So here we're given parts of triangle ABC, so I'm just going to quick sketch out triangle ABC. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. Just make sure that little a is opposite of angle A, and same with B and C. So angle B is 36 degrees. And at side B, we don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. Excuse me. Side A is 7, and side C is 5. And so you can see I have side, angle, side, which implies law of cosines. Okay. And I check my formula. Which formula should I use? Well, I'm given B, angle B, so that tells me that I'm going to use this second formula here. Okay, no other ones have angle B. All right. So I'll go find little b using the law of cosines. It'll look like this. B squared is equal to a squared, so that's 5 squared, plus c squared, which is 7 squared, minus 2 times a, which is 5, times c, which is 7, times the cosine of 36. All right? And then what you can do is put all that in your calculator. So, and you can put it all on one line. It's just 5 squared plus 7 squared. Minus 2 times 5 times 7 times cosine, that's tangent, cosine of 36. And now look what you get, because some of you are going to make this mistake, so try not to be that person. So you get b squared equals 17.4, and you want to figure out what b is. Well, to get b, you have to square root at the end. Okay, so b is going to be equal to, I'll take the second square root of that answer. So sorry, I pushed the second button is what I meant. But so you take the square root of the answer, you get 4.2. So b is 4.2. Do not forget to take the square root at the end. It's a really easy thing to forget. Okay. So, all right. Next, find angle A in ABC, given that side A is 16, side B is 19, and side C is 10. Okay, so if I'm looking for angle A, then I'm going to, and I have side, 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 so I'm given side, side, side. So that tells me that I need to use this top formula here. So I'll write this. Cosine of A is equal to B squared plus C squared minus A squared. So let's leave this here. B squared plus C squared minus A squared. So let's write that in. So that's 9 squared plus 10 squared minus 16 squared. All of that's in the top, divided by 2 times B times C. So 2 times 9 times C, which is 10. All right, the easiest thing to mess up here is typing the stuff into your calculator. So I'm going to use parentheses in the top and the bottom, and then I know that I will have it it will do the order of operations correctly. So plus 10 squared minus 16 squared, all of that goes in parentheses, divided by, in parentheses, 2 times 9 times 10, hit enter, and that's what you get. Now, in Desmos, it's really nice because it just formats it like a fraction, so you can make sure that everything is in the right spot. But if you're using a calculator, this is what it'll look like. So I've got negative 0.417 here, okay? And that's equal to cosine of A. Now remember, I'm looking for an angle, okay? So this is not going to be the angle. I need to know what this angle A is that has a cosine of that. So to undo cosine, I'm going to do the inverse cosine of the left, inverse cosine of the right, and so this is what I get for A when I do the inverse cosine in my calculator. 114.6 degrees. Right? I always like the law of cosines because you don't have to worry about that side-side angle situation where you could possibly have two triangles or no solution or whatever. All right. Okay, let's solve a triangle now. So let's go ahead and find everything, all the parts. And this one adds a little wrinkle where now the triangle is not ABC, it's FGH. So let's sketch this out. Again, as long as your sides are opposite, the correct sides are opposite of the angle, then it doesn't matter what your triangle looks like. So G, side G will be opposite of angle G, and H is opposite of, so H is 4, H is opposite of angle H, and so on. Angle G is 82, and then side F is 6. G, I don't know, little g I don't know, H and F, I don't know either. Okay, we want to solve the triangle. Now, I'm given side, angle, side, so I have to use the law of cosines. And then as I mentioned up here, whatever angle you have, you use the opposite side in this spot on the left, okay, and then fill in the rest. So if I have angle G, and I have side F and side H, this is what the formula will look like. You don't need to write the formula out every time, but I do want to show you what it would look like. G squared equals F squared plus H squared minus 2 times F times H times the cosine of G, okay? And all I did is I took the angle that I have, the opposite letter goes here, and then the other two letters fit in here, okay? It doesn't matter if I had gone F and then H or H and then F, doesn't matter. So let's solve this then. G squared is equal to F squared, which is 6 squared, plus 4 squared minus 2 times 6 times 4 times the cosine of 82. And I can plug this in my calculator. So this is end up being 6 squared plus 4 squared plus, minus 2 times 6 times 4 times the cosine of 82. Hit enter. And then remember, at the end of it, you have to square root. So second square root, second answer. And I get 6.7 for G. Okay. Now I have all three sides, and I need to find an angle. I have options. I can either use the law of cosines or the law of sines. Because now I have enough information, I could use the law of sines. But since this is the law of cosines section, I'm going to practice law of cosines. So let's go find that angle. We can find either angle, it doesn't matter. Let's find F, I guess. So we'll go sine of F. Not sine, I'm sorry, cosine. Cosine of F. Okay. And honestly, as I'm thinking about this, if these variables matched, then actually it would be easy to use the law of cosines. Since they don't, it's really easy to make a mistake in writing the variables out incorrectly. So I'm actually going to switch to the law of sines here. It's a little bit quicker anyway, I think. So if we want to find angle F, we're going to write sine of F divided by little f, which is 6, is equal to sine of 82 divided by G, which is 6.7. I'm going to times both sides by 6. And so this is what I get. I'm going to go 6 times sine of 82 divided by 6.7. And then, so that will be sine of f, right? Sine of f is equal to 0.8868. And then f will be the inverse sine of that. So we take the inverse sine of both sides, and you get 62.5 degrees. Okay? And the last thing we need to do is figure out what angle, so this is 62.5 here. We need to figure out what angle h is. And since all the angles in a triangle have to add up to 180, we're going to go 180 minus 62.5 minus 82. And we'll see what we get. 180 minus 62.5 minus 82. I get 35.5 degrees. This is for angle H. Okay, so there I've solved the triangles. Sometimes you'll be able, you can use a combination of law of cosines and the law of sines to solve a triangle. Last one here. So this didn't copy that well, but we've got a post here at angle A. This is 20 and 40, so the whole thing is supposed to be 60. All right, we have a distance of 9 feet here. Whoops, you can't see that. I'm sorry. We have a distance of 9 feet here, distance of 12 feet here, and then this is angle or point B here. This is point C here, and we want to know what this distance is here. It's call it little a. Okay. So since I know that this side is 9 and this side is 12, and I know this angle, I have side, angle, side, so I'm going to use the law of cosines, and it'll look like this. Little a squared is equal to 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 9 times 12 times the cosine of 60. Put all that in your calculator. So 9 squared plus 12 squared minus 9 times 12 times cosine of 60 is 171. So I get a squared is equal to 171. Remember, you've got to square root both sides. So I get a is equal to the square root of 171. Turns out to be 13.1 feet. All right. So there's a little application problem at the end. Okay. And I think that pretty much wraps up the law of cosines. Just be careful as you're going with what your formula, putting the stuff in the right place in the formula, and then also be careful typing things into the calculator. So take your time, write stuff out so that you don't miss steps. And that's all I've got for the law of cosines.